I've been involved federally and provincially in politics, and then sort of gradually started to realize that more of the issues that are important to us come to us at the local level, at the municipal level, and the things that are really important to us. And I'd even argue that the school trustees are probably even the more important role, because the most important asset we have is our children.
This episode of Bring Back the Porch, brought to you by Bernie Leahy, River Street Realty. Let's get you home. And this time on the porch, our guest is Troy Wason. And I wanted to make sure I get your name right, because people see your signs around town, they're probably going, I wonder how he says his name. And there's a story behind that.
Yeah, there is. There's our family back and forth from Saskatchewan, of course, and Wason, and what I find interesting is that I'll have people put a T in because they want it to be Watson, and you think back to yourself, it's like, no, I didn't write a T in there, but they want it there, so that's what they do.
Yeah. When I first looked at it, I thought, did somebody misspell the name? So yeah, I'm glad we got it. It's Troy Wason.
That's right.
And if people go to vote on the 20th of October, they're going to find you at the bottom of the ballot.
Second last.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we'll talk about that as we get into
Okay.
the conversation. But it's something that people need to keep in mind as they get into the ballot box.
Indeed.
What brought you to civic politics?
Well, it's been interesting. I've, since I was 19 years old, actually, I'd even go back to when I was 7 years old, but that would be a longer story. But when I was 19, after the 84 election, I walked into Mac Hall at the University of Calgary, and I was really intrigued because of the federal election of 84. And so I walked into a meeting room, and I put down my $3 for membership, put my hand up, volunteered, and here I am 41 years later. So so I've been involved federally and provincially in politics, and then sort of gradually started to realize that more of the issues that are important to us come to us at the local level, at the municipal level, and the things that are really important to us. And I'd even argue that the school trustees are probably even the more important role, because the most important asset we have is our children. And so, municipally, I've just gravitated towards it. And, having been involved for about 40 years, I always felt like I was defending party and leader. And this time I get to go, I'm the only one. If I make a decision, I have to defend it. And if it's good or bad, I'm the one that stands there. So I really, when we moved here, I wanted to get to know the community, which I did. I got involved in different associations and such. And then when this election came up, I thought, you know what, I've been doing this for a long time. People have asked me, are you going to ever run? And I've always said, no, I'm not ready. And one day I just woke up and I said, I'm ready.
For those who heard that you've been involved with two different political organizations, maybe the red flag went up. Oh, no, we're bringing party politics into civic politics.
No, that's the beautiful part. I don't hold a membership in any party right now, federally or provincially. I made that effort a number of years ago to just step away from it. People said, and when I announced I was going into municipal, they said, I thought you were leaving politics. And I said, no, I'm leaving party politics. So no, that's actually, I'm really, I'm against partisan politics within the municipal arena, because it just really, how do I put it? I just don't feel it's a place for it. There's 9 people sitting around that horseshoe, and you don't want people of all the same beliefs. You want to have different views. You want to be able to debate. And I think that's the thing about, the beauty of this is you don't there's no need for whipped votes. It's a place where you have those discussions and debates. And so yes, I have shed the skin, as they say.
You've left the ideology at the door.
100%.
Tell me a little bit about your life experience after the university and how what your work experience is like.
Well, when I left university, like everyone else, I was trying to find out where I was and what I was doing, and I got involved in nonprofits in the development area, raising money for Heart and Stroke Foundation, Theatre Calgary, the United Way, and then I moved on to other areas in went back academically to finish up a graduate degree and traveled the world, and then decided to start my own business. I then proceeded to find myself being the executive director of one political party, and then I became the executive director of another political party. And now I'm back with running my own small business here in Medicine Hat, which I just really love doing, and bringing my business acumen to the city feels really good, and it's at local level.
Sounds like you've looked at life from both sides now, to quote the old Joni Mitchell song.
Yep.
You've been around the circle and seen how things go from different angles.
Very much so, and it's been I think that's the rounded experience that I bring to the table. Is I've also worked in Ottawa, I worked in Edmonton, so I've seen myself at the federal level and the provincial level, not inside of government, but more inside the political side. And in that, I've also learned a lot about how government works and such like that. So it's just bring that rounded experience that I feel I'm bringing to the table right now.
And how did life bring you to Medicine Hat?
Well, that's actually a great question. About 7 years ago, I had a client that wanted me to come and talk to city managers, and being born in Regina, living in Calgary most of my life, I spent a lot of time on that number one highway and passing through Medicine Hat, but I really didn't get the flavor of the city because I really hadn't come in and viewed it. And so when we came to visit to meet with these managers, they asked if we'd like a tour of the downtown, and I said certainly, that'd be great. So we got a tour of the downtown, and as we were going home, I was in the passenger seat, so I sent my wife a note and said, "Have you ever thought about Medicine Hat?" And she said, "I could do that." Well, then life goes on, and we forgot about it. And then at the beginning of COVID, a friend of ours from Medicine Hat said, "Are you still thinking about moving to Medicine Hat?" And I said, "Oh, geez, we'd kind of forgotten about it." I said, "Why?" He said, "Well, I got a house on Southwest Hill you might be interested in." So we were like everyone else, had nothing better to do. So we got on the highway, came down. It turned out it wasn't what we were looking for, but we did something that I think would only have happened during the pandemic, because we got back home and decided that we should see what our house would be like if we put it on the market. 26 hours later, we were homeless.
Uh-oh.
So we turned around and called a friend of ours who was a realtor here, and said, "You've got anything we can look at?" And as it turned out, she had 3 that she had in her inventory. So we came back on the Wednesday, and turns out we bought the second house that we looked at. And within 6 days, we had sold and bought a home, and we are now Hatters.
So you have experienced Medicine Hat from the outside. You've seen the attractions. It brought you here.
Right.
How do we translate that into other experiences for other people to bring them into Medicine Hat and get them here and paying taxes and building jobs and community?
Well, it's interesting you said it, because I've actually brought people here. We do talk about it, and we do. I like to think I'm an ambassador for the city, because, living in a city with 1.5 million people, and you feel anonymous a lot of times. I've often said that I felt like a very small fish in a very large pond, and as I've come here, I feel like a small fish in a small pond, and it's a great place to feel. You put your hand up and you want to volunteer, people accept you, and they'll let you in. Standard of living is superior. The idea of, being able to get across the city in less than 20 minutes, and you have one of everything. I mean, in a city of, such as Calgary, you've got, 12 Ronas and 12 of this and 12 of that. And okay, so it just means you have to go further and further and further to get these things. And here it's like, if you have to stop at one place and go to another, and you can still be home, you can leave at 8:30 and be home by 9 o'clock, and still pick up everything you'll need. So it's really simple to say to people, what are you looking for? Like particularly, when you get up in a little bit in your life and you start to say, what kind of lifestyle do you want? And this is a lifestyle that I think if people experience it and they're told of it and they said, what are you looking at? It really works well.
So you say you're an ambassador for Medicine Hat. That would continue if you were elected as a member of City Council.
You bet you it would. That's what I'd love to see, is just be able to say that you're proud of a place. And again, when you come to Medicine Hat, I think you sit back and you go, this is a place where, yes, there are issues. There's always going to be issues, but there are issues that I think you can certainly work at. And yet, when you say to people, what's your biggest problem in Calgary? Well, I can tell you there are some very big ones. And just watch what's going on in their civic election. This one here is about things, affordability, about safety, about the ability to feel like your council is open and transparent. But those are things that we can work at. And really, I think we can solve most of them. And then we'll figure out what the next thing is.
Reading some of your biography material on your website, you have a heart for history.
I have a very big heart for history.
We share that.
Oh, very good. Yes, I have a master's in history at the from the University of Calgary. And so when I got here, one of the first things that I did was I had a discussion with a certain individual that you probably know very well, Malcolm Sissons, and he suggested that I apply to for the Heritage Resources Working Group with the city. And I was, second time around, I was chosen to be on it, and which I still am, and I love it, absolutely love it. And that might be one of the things, should I get elected, I might have to leave, because it'd be hard to be an advisor to council if you're already in, conflict there, yeah, which, be okay. But I really love that group. Also on the Historical Society of Medicine Hat District, and also the president of the Cypress Club Preservation Society. So there's my sort of rounded view of it. And, again, to see, like, I'm very much about the future, but I'm also very much about the past. And this is a beautiful past about how you build a city, on the prairies, but from business, ranching, farming, it's come together, and it's in such a way that it's got a glorious past, and to preserve it and be a part of it. I mean, when I came into downtown, I went, this is what I would love to life, and yet there's other things about the city that's great as well, but this is the part that I think is worth preserving.
What have you been hearing from people as you've been attending some of the campaign events? What are the issues that are uppermost in their minds?
Affordability. Affordability has been a part of it, and safety definitely. Those are the two big issues, and it keeps. And I've been at the doors, north and south, east and west, and I constantly get the same questions. And there's certain things that are particular, but really overall it's and I think it's not necessarily it feels like it's brand new. It's not like it when we came here 5 years ago, it wasn't I didn't hear as much about that, but I think in the last 5 years, particularly the safety and particularly the affordability, and I mean that's just when we had 2 years of COVID, that there was 0% taxes, and then we had to catch up. That's hit people, and it's hit them very hard. And then that's also included some of the other. It brings up the other issues and stuff. So I think at the doors, it's not a, how do I put it? It's not a anger thing. It's just really this is something that's created anxiety.
It's a concern.
Concern, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
One of the things that the new council is going to have to look at is that 3 letters, MCC, Municipally Controlled Corporation, where they might try to put some of the onus of running the utilities, the energy division, on an arm's length corporation. As a business person, what do you think of that idea?
Well, it's interesting because I just had this question this morning at the door, and I've had it over and over again. And again, being a historian, I'm honest. I can be honest, and even living in Calgary all my life, I've never worked in energy, but I am a researcher. And one of the things that I tend to do is, if you tell me this is on the table, then I'm going to find out everything I can about it. I'm going to research it to death, and when I have to make a decision on it, I will do my best to really understand it. But right now, and I remember a couple weeks ago sitting in council and listening to the councillors around the table, and I think one of the answers was, we've been studying this for 2, 3, 4 years, and this was a councillor's word, I know this much about it. I feel right now that it's off the table. I think they've left it there. It could come back. I think that's probably where you're coming from. And at that point, I think I'd look at it and say, okay, where is it at? I've listened to people on both sides, particularly people who lived here all their lives, and said, we've ran it pretty well for the last 100 years. Why now? And I guess that's a good question to start with. Why now? Do we have the expertise in City Hall, in administration, to administer this? So these are the questions that we need to continue to ask ourselves. And I think, we've got to look at costs. We've got to look at how it's going to be administered. We've got to look at who has final say. These are things that if that gets brought up again. Now, interesting, it might not get brought up again. Every council has their own priorities. And just because this was KPMG comes back with a report and says, these are our three sort of here's your three options. Maybe that's not coming back to the table because the 9 that this is kind of that really, game of roulette where, you just shake it and there's these 9 people and they sit down and go, actually, that's not a priority. So I guess, if I'm there, I will work with whoever. And if we decide that's priority, then I'm going to learn about it.
Another big ticket item is the Samus Solar Project,
yes,
which already has seen some money expended on it, and they're trying to decide what that is going to look like in the future. Have you given any thought to that?
I wrote a little bit about it on my website, and there's a piece on it, and I have to believe that there is something about having solar. I mean, it comes down fairly significantly in this city.
Sunny city, yep.
Sunny city, and I've been, I've at the doors pretty much since Labor Day, and as you can tell from my color, I wasn't this dark in August. Let me put it this way, but it's there. How do we, we maximize it if that's the case, and really to understand if this is worth expenditure to do this, or can it be, sold off to someone else to take it on. So I really, again, another issue of which we own it. We're going to have to decide what we're going to do with it. But when that moment comes, then that's sort of the thing I want to sit down. So I think sometimes to just say, I would do this, this, or this, as a researcher, I always hold back because my clients always ask me, to give the best advice. Well, if I don't have all the information, I'm not giving you the best advice. So I tend to, and it's not because I'm sitting on the fence, not because I'm afraid to answer things, but I want to make sure that I know all the pieces and where we're going with it.
And the Southside Recreation Center has another big
that's
ticket
the big
item.
one. I knew you were coming to that one, and I've been looking forward to that one. I'm as a son of a single mother. One of the things that I grew up in downtown Calgary, and I was very blessed to have access to pools around, except I didn't realize in the day that they weren't very accessible. They were actually far away, but in the 70s, we were allowed to walk 12 blocks to a pool and such. But when I've seen sort of like because they just got the preliminary go ahead to do the preliminary designs, I've been, nobody knows what it's going to look like. Nobody knows the cost, sort of things. But from what I understand, Hatters want this. But the caveat.
How much?
How much? And what are you willing to give up for it? There's probably a way to afford it if you take away some other things. Well, are you willing to do that? And I think those are the things that every council needs and every councillor needs to bring to the table is, telling people this is what you get, but this is what you have to give away. And I think it's a wonderful idea. If is it indoor? Is it outdoor? Is it a hybrid? I love the idea of giving different things. But again, is this going to be something that is going to be 25, 50 years, or is it something that's going to be 15, 20 years? Then we got to talk operations.
That's the other shoe that falls.
You always got to say, you're building it, great, there's your cost. Now how much is it going to cost you every year? And that's going to go up. All these things. Plus you have the fact that it's going to need fixes on it throughout the year, maintenance and throughout the years. So again, we have to be open about that. We have to be honest about it, talk about it and say, this is lovely, but what is it going to cost in the long run? And does that mean we have to close down other facilities? Well, the people living next door to the facilities that are open today might say that's not on the table. Well, there's the questions. And so honesty, transparency, we've overused that word, but honesty in the public realm to say, are you willing to give this up? And are you willing to take 3%, 4%, 5%? We don't know what, obviously, the different levels of government would provide to it, but there is only one taxpayer.
That's what I keep saying.
There's only one taxpayer. And so you've got to be able to say, is this what you really want? Because I remember as a child, my mother said, you want those pair of skis? You have to save half. Well, by the time I saved half, it's like, well, I got all this money in my pocket. Maybe I don't want skis so much.
Yeah, priorities change.
Priorities change. And so these are things that, as all the three projects you just talked about, the three different things you just talked about are quite important. And I think over time we put ourselves into a place where it's like, okay, but let's talk about them. Let's get these out there. And when people, to your earlier question, what are people saying at the door? We want to know what's going on. I'm not talking about people's salaries, not talking about those things. I'm talking about just the general information to say, this is what it costs, this is what you're going to pay, and this is what you have to give up. But you get something nice and shiny at the end.
Mm-hmm. Transit, has anybody approached you with ideas about what our transit system needs going forward?
Absolutely. I had this conversation last night from a lovely person at the Viner Center who said, asked about that and said, you really have to be able to, to understand it, you have to be on it. And here I haven't been on public transit, and so, but they explained to me what it means to so many people to be able to go for grocery shopping, to the doctors, to the hospital, to these things. And when you sit back and you think about it, it's like every time I see one, it's empty.
Yeah.
But for the 2 or 3 people on there, that may be their only way to get to and fro. So again, questions that need to be discussed. And it has not been one of the priorities, not one of the ones I hear a lot. But having said that, most of the places I've been to probably have 2 or 3 cars in front, so that isn't a priority. But to the people that it is, I think that's what we have to consider. And again, there have been ways to solve the problems in other cities. So how do we do it? And I'm sure smarter people than myself have investigated or looked at it. But to the people that use it, it's a priority. And so when they do talk about it, they talk about it very passionately.
One of the visible issues we see just about every day are the people who are on the street in Medicine Hat, particularly downtown. The Mustard Seed has been trying to find a place where they can offer services to those people, and yet it's NIMBY, not in my backyard. Any thoughts from Troy Wason?
Lots of thoughts. And believe me, NIMBYism isn't Medicine Hat's issue.
We don't have that cornered.
No, not at all. And, it's so I guess the northwest corner has been taken off the table. But, these are, again, things that, I wrote another piece on, compassion for the folks that are on the street, the safety of the people that want to visit downtown, and then also the ability of people that run businesses to be able to do it in a manner of which it's not affecting their day-to-day lives. So we have 3 different prongs to that issue, and but I think there has to be. The number I was given, and maybe you've heard different, but is 104 individuals they've sort of identified as. So around that number.
It changes,
it changes, obviously. But when you're looking at that number and you look at the amount of resources we put into it, policing, government, nonprofit, and NGOs, and we think we should be able to find a solution. And I like some of the stuff that's being done. I love to talk about it. But on the other hand, homelessness isn't just about being homeless. It's also about supports once you get there. And I have a little bit of that in my background as well. And so, when I sit there and I look at the people that are there, it's like, what can you do to make their lives safe and the ability to give them dignity, and then also have a compassion for it. But also remembering there's also other parts of society that coexist. And so I think it's all in the best interest of all Hatters to work towards this. But for 100 people, I really think there should be a solution. And I think that's just one of those things I'd like to work towards.
As you've been campaigning and interacting with the other people who are on the ballot, does it give you hope that we have a good pool of people to choose from on the 20th of October? You can work with those people?
Absolutely. take it full circle. I've done this a lot in my life, and I have interacted with pretty much all 39 of the councillors. I've also sat down with the members the folks running for mayor, and I look at them going, these are the good group of people. I could work with a lot of them, and it's been fun because, again, staying out of the party politics is that I'm not running against anybody that's running. I'm running against being number 9.
Yeah, that's a crying hole.
That's the part so it's not really a competition. It's more of, this is all of us with our ideas. And the folks that I've interacted with, I've had conversations with them, and I've had even a little bit of debate with them. And I realize I would like to work with, if I picked 8 right now and I said these are the 8, I could tell you that they would not be from the same demographics. They wouldn't be same philosophically, politically, but we could find consensus. And what's really been that I've really enjoyed about this campaign is, as we go to the meet and greets, in a lot of cases we're probably outnumbering the amount of people that are showing up. So we tend to have these little conversations, and yet I'm going, I could really work with this person, or I really like this person's thoughts or on this or whatever. And, a couple stand out in my mind, and I'm thinking, I hope when this is over, win, place, or show, that we stay friends. Mm-hmm. And, if I'm not on council, I'd like to be able to work with these fellow, ladies and gentlemen that are on council and say, well, now I know you. And let's, if you're looking for some extra advice from the people that didn't make it, we're there for you.
It's all about relationships.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm going to go back to my what we started.
Okay.
Troy Wason is second from the bottom on the ballot on October the 20th. Here's your chance to tell people that don't spend your 8 votes before you get to the bottom of the list.
Well, actually, I'd just say, why don't you do something radical and start from the bottom. There's Stu Young, there's Troy Wason, there's Brian Varga, and then work your way up. Just to, maybe turn it over. And I know in a lot of municipalities or in constituencies, they will randomize the ballots. But in this one, we know that it's A to Z, and so that's the lot. And I know in high school they'd name out the names at the graduation, and there would be me at the back. So I'm used to it, but I really do hope that people, do go through. And I know it's really difficult because there's so many names, and that was important for me to go. I'm going door to door, putting door hangers on the doors. I've had wonderful conversations with folks that are doing mowing lawns, having their coffee out in the front, whatever. But I've also tried to stay away from being intrusive in it. But, it's just as we were going through, I just want people to know that I'm on there, that I have experience in governance. And, I'd be the first to admit in operations, I probably wouldn't be your person. But in governance, I've learned a little bit about it, and that's why I feel that, probably never going to be inside of City Hall in administration, but I would definitely, from a standpoint of going in and working with people on we're the face of government in the city, and we make decisions. These are people that have day jobs, they have their own businesses, and they do the best they can. And I mean, aside from what people have said about the last 4 years, they're just people, and they're the people in your community. They're your friends, they're your neighbors, your relatives, and they're doing their best. And that's what I hope to bring to the table, is just bring my best, and to say to matters that, I'm here. If I'm not elected, I'm still going to be here, and I'm going to be involved in the community. I'm also a member of the Southeast Alberta Chamber with my business. And so, this is just a place where I think that I could add a little bit more.
Troy Wason, candidate for Medicine Hat City Council on October 20th. Thank you for your visit.
Thank you very much for having me.